All right guys, so I just broke off a female on a bed, and my jig, I must have had a nick in my line, so I immediately picked up a drop shot, because when they're territorial like this and when they're on their beds, if you're very careful, you can get them to bite again. The problem is that I'm gonna try to get her. And if you guys want to know the crazy thing, this is one of the smallest fish, because I just saw another one. Look at that one. This one's 4 pounds 2 ounces, 4 pounds 3 ounces. There's the header fish, baby. So one of the coolest things about fishing during the pre-spawn and into spawn are the size of the fish that you're gonna see and hopefully you're gonna be able to catch. And today I'm gonna go over a few different tips to help you guys identify where to start when you get out to a body of water, and then how to dial in the bite from there. Once you see some fish, okay, there's going to be a couple of different stages that the fish can be in. One, they might be skittish and you might not be able to actually catch them after you see them. They'll be gone, you can return and they still won't be there, that sort of thing. Today's scenario, a lot of the fish, a lot of the females have moved up, the males have made the beds, and they're starting to kind of, you know, be around one another. They're not necessarily locked on a bed, but the great time about this type of activity is that the fish will often cruise these reed lines that you see behind me. Even though they're in a general area where they're going to spawn, they're still feeding. The bluegill have pushed up. You can hear the popping in the reeds and in any of the vegetation that you're going to be around. So the coolest thing is that yes, you can bed fish, but a lot of the times you're just going to be catching fish that are just moving up. Let's go ahead and try to catch another fish or two, and we'll dial in and actually turn the camera around to show you guys what I'm fishing. So as you can see, you know, that first fish was caught on my drop shot rod. It's an Abu Garcia, and it's got the new Daiwa Tatula LT, the new spinning reel. And you know, this particular rod and reel is a finesse drop shot. It's got 20-pound braided main line. It's got 8-pound leader, but this reel has made a tremendous difference in my ability to feel sensitivity and rock with my drop shot weights. The reel's, you know, it's carbon, it's tremendously light, but it's not like that cheap light feel, you know what I mean? There's some things that you pick up, like some IM6 rods and everything like that. Like, yeah, they can be light, but the material is just pretty much garbage. The new Tatula lineup by Daiwa is fantastic. I absolutely love that reel. I'm actually going to be selling a couple of my Abu Garcias to get a couple more of those. You know, that's targeting these beds with a finesse setup. Now, it's not necessarily the best thing because you're targeting some of the biggest fish in the lake with 8-pound test, and it's not necessarily the brightest idea. But you know, a lot of the times these fish can be really line shy too. So depending on how they're acting, going down to a finesse presentation like a traditional drop shot can be beneficial. obviously you got to keep them away from the weeds. If they try to bury you in the weeds and you have 8-pound test and you're doing that whole deal, you're going to lose the battle probably almost every time. But if you saw the way I battled that fish, I kept him on the reed line, and every time she tried to make a run into the weeds, I would apply pressure, and so it was just enough to slow her down. So you kind of have to play that by ear and do it as you go. This particular setup is an Alpha Angler hitter. It's a custom color they call Vader. It's all blacked out, and this is a 7.5 foot heavy, fast action, and it's really primarily my flipping stick, okay? But what I have now is I've put on a 1/2 ounce Strike King. It's a Hack Attack fluorocarbon, the Hack Attack Fluoro jig, and what I'm doing is I'm now pitching to pieces of cover. It's tremendously balanced for a 7.5 foot rod. I paired it up with that new Lew's Super Duty, but it has the flipping switch, and so when I got the rod made from Alpha, I was like, man, it's obviously going to be a flipping, pitching rod. Like, I gotta go ahead and try this new Lew's reel with the flipping switch. And the coolest thing about this is that I'm able to engage and disengage the reel just from the thumb bar. I don't actually have to click my spool over at all. You turn it on right here. There's an on and off switch. This is off, and I can cast it like a normal bait caster. This is on, and when I engage the thumb bar here, when I let go, the spool's already ready to roll. So you don't actually have to sit there and engage with your reel handle. It saves a ton of time, okay? Basically, that's the name of the game, is saving time, cover, and water. In this stage, when the fish are not necessarily locked on, you can still cover a lot of water and then slow down once you find a bed, if you see a bed or a rocky area that leads you to believe that there should be more fish in the area. So I want to show you guys how I'm fishing right now. As you can see, you have a lot of reeds that are basically backed up into an area of the lake where you really can't get a whole lot of lures back there, okay? You could easily frog, I would say, some of the holes, but really what I'm doing right now is I'm focusing on reeds that are mixing in with these lily pads that you see here, these little stems, and rock. And so you kind of have 3 different kinds of things going on here that allow these fish to move up, make their beds, and be protected. This is a really, really great example right here because you have a major rock, you have a back wall here of pencil reeds, and some of them are actually newly growth, and then you have the back wall of the older, I guess, thicker reeds. Okay, so these fish don't have to guard against bluegill a whole lot because really, as long as they look out, these bluegill aren't going to be able to come from the back of them to mess with the eggs or mess with the beds. And so, as you can see, there's a lot of rock beneath me. There's a mix of new vegetation and old vegetation, and the biggest thing about fishing right now, you guys, is that these fish feel secure and that they can keep their beds safe as the season progresses. That's a good one. Oh yeah. And that, my friends, is a hitter fish. All right, guys, that's it for this pre-spawn / spawn video. I really appreciate you guys watching. I hope these tips will help you out. Be sure to keep that jig, that rage craw in your hand. Never let the frog be too far away from where you're standing. And you know, be sure to check out my website, fhcoutdoors.com. Gonna have some exclusive tips on there this year. Really excited to share some things with you guys. And of course, Facebook, Twitter. Check me out on Instagram, guys. Give me a follow and I'll follow you back. And we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.